on balance, more happy than unhappy?
Depends. If you see the game, I think we had some chances to win the game. We tried to use the pace in transitions, defending a little more in the low block, but we had our chances, and we had some moments with the ball, and we pushed City to their half. I think we were near the goal, but if you look at the game, you can accept the draw.
Yeah. So they had more of the ball, but did you feel like you had a bit more of the threat?
Yes, because you have more space, and that is something that is normal when you are prepared to do that and you expect to do that. We were closer, I think, to the goal. They have more possession. That is normal.
Is it still that last bit for you though? In the last third, final pass, final cross. I heard you talk about it in midweek. Same again today.
Sometimes Ederson did quite well because we had some moments in the pass was in the they used a good pass in the overlap sometimes, things that we didn't do against Nottingham, and then Ederson was there. But if you look at the team, we have so much to improve in every aspect of the game, so that is one more.
Okay, give us some of those things. Where do you need to improve? We've not got long enough.
Everywhere. I think everywhere. We need to improve in every aspect of the game, build up, transition, decision clearly in the final third. So we have to improve in every aspect.
Well played, a point against your City rivals. Happy with the result? Happy with the performance? What do you make of it?
No, happy with the performance. Obviously, the result not. We want to win games, and we need points in the league. We are aware of that. Obviously, we played against a very good side. I think the game was there for both teams. I think we were a little bit more dangerous. We create more opportunities. We just need to be a little bit more, have more the instinct, the killer instinct, to get the goals in the first half. I think we had too many chances, and we have to get one. When you play against City, they want to have the ball. They will overload places and sides, and you have to be patient with your pressure. But I think we did that very well today. We are very well organized. But as I said, the killer instinct today was missing a little bit. But we created a lot of chances. That's a good point.
So in terms of the manager's structure, defensive plan, do you feel like you're really up to speed with that now? Whenever you're playing the top sides, you're making it really difficult for them.
But I wasn't worried about the defensive organisation or the speed of the team going backwards, pressing, because when we play big teams, we have showed that. Yeah. The problem is when you go to some games where we think probably that we are the better team, and then we don't do it in the same pace as we should do. But we're growing in that. We're understanding that without suffering, that's what the manager says to us a lot of times. If it doesn't see us suffering, that means that we're not doing 100%. So today we did it, but we have to carry on. This not just for the rest of the season, but for everything that comes after. You've
been in terrific form for a few months actually now, but around you've got some young players, maybe some guys who are just searching for their best form. How much responsibility do you feel to be the difference, to make the difference for Manchester United at the moment? No, my responsibility is doing the best I can for the team, because that's the responsibility everyone has. Obviously, we know that I will get more attention than some others probably, because being the captain and being here for so many years, and I need to be at the level of this club every time I step off the dressing room to go to the pitch. Obviously, sometimes you don't, but the effort is always there. That won't miss from my side. It could miss technically, tactically a little bit sometimes, but effort-wise we'll never miss, and that has to be my main thing to show to the other ones.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Gary Neville has rejoined us. They don't have that feeling to win every game at home right now. What do you make of that?
I sort of know what he's saying by the fact that obviously when they play against City, they're probably worried before they go into a game against Lyon in midweek that they're going to get a bit of a doing. But I don't think there was one player walked off that pitch at the end that was disappointed about drawing the game 0-0.
From either side?
From either side. I think they all sort of walked off thinking, we're OK here, and got away without making a mistake. I think that was the sort of type of game. It was really disappointing. And I apologise for my cold commentary, actually. I think I let it get to me. I was boring on there as well. That was drab as well. Honestly, just the whole game. There's part of me, I get what he's saying about it being that point in the season, about City United are in a difficult moment, but this robotic nature of not leaving our positions, of basically being micromanaged within an inch of our lives, of not having any freedom to take a risk to go and try and win a football match, is becoming becoming an illness in the game. It's becoming disease in the game. And I think ultimately, think about Pep Guardiola and his teams over the last 10 years. That's what his teams do. But we're seeing poor imitations of that across the board now. You know, United's goalkeeper rolling his foot on the ball and waiting for things to happen. That's not it. That's not what this club is. That's not what we do here. You know, Liverpool don't do that. You've got to be a top team with tempo in your play, rhythm in your play, get the ball moving, shift it quickly. And also, I think from a United perspective, I get why he's gone deep. I get why he's gone back into a sort of, like he called it, a low block. But that's what we've seen from Jose Mourinho. It's what we've seen from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. It's what we've seen from Erik ten Hag. They've all come in with the intention of playing high press, high energy football, but all end up going back to a low block in big games. And I do understand why Ruben Amorim's done that today with the players he's got, because he hasn't got the players to adapt. They need 5 new players, Manchester United, straight away before you even think about the rest of it. The 3 up front are not good enough. The 2 behind and the 1 and the 2 wing backs, they're not good enough. So they need 5 players. They need to serve him with 5 players who are good enough in this system to be able to play his system the way he wants. But the game today really was quite depressing for me, because I think we're seeing a lot of these types of games. And the Premier League is about excitement, it's about thrill, it's about risk. And there was nothing like that in that game. So that's not good enough.
But just on Manchester United, Gary, he said there, candidly again, we need to do everything. We need to improve everything. But also, he's in a rush.
But he's very honest.
So something got to give.
I actually think he's really honest, because he says they need to improve everything. You know, and to be fair, Patrick came in with something along the lines of, you know, too much to even sort of list. But he is in a rush. He's realistic. I actually think his interviews are really honest. I think they're really open. He hasn't got time.
But has he got to shift the balance a little bit in terms of results then?
But what he's saying is, at this moment in time, is what we're seeing. He's not lying to us. He's not bullying us like some managers do, to be fair to him. He's saying it's not very good. We've got so much to improve. And by the way, I haven't got a lot of time to improve it, or else you'll sack me. I think he's telling us the truth, because next season, if we're in 13th at Manchester United or in the lower half of the table, he's had 12 to 18 months to try and get the players in place, and he is where he is today. He'll be under pressure, and he knows that. I think he's actually, to be fair, being really open and honest about things, and I think he's telling us the truth.
Manchester United have still only scored 37 goals, and only 5 teams in the Premier League have scored fewer than them.
Yeah, it's a big issue, Steve. As you said, we said that before. I think it's quite right saying the defensive organisation looks all right. But is that because they don't look like a threat at the other end of the pitch? You know what I mean? That balance has to be right. The balance isn't quite there. They definitely need more ammunition in the forward area of the pitch. Well, that goes without saying. I think Garnacho is the only threat, but again, we're talking about the threat where he scored once in 25, 26 games. It's not enough. He needs to be more consistent with his chances. He should have scored again today. For me, the diving header 5 yards out, it should be a goal, and that probably wins the game. So reinforcements look, we know reinforcements need possibly all over the pitch, but especially in forward areas. They're just toothless in attack.
I'm going to give you an incredible stat now, because it's not just reinforcements, it's the way they're playing that's getting much discussion. Since Ruben Amorim arrived, only Leicester City have scored in fewer games than Manchester United. So actually the goal scoring record's gone backwards since this manager came in, with the shape and with the players that he has available to him.
Yeah, and from what we've seen so far, it's not going to change that. He's not going to change the shape, whether it's winning games or losing games. It doesn't seem to matter to him now. He thinks he's got... Well, I think deep down he knows he probably hasn't got the players that he needs for the shape he wants to play, but he's just getting on with it anyway, cracking on with it, hoping eventually it does come, and then when he brings his new players in, that they will be off and running with it. I think defensively, it feels like it's working. Because you look at the record, you look at today, they didn't really concede any chances, I think, over the last 5 or 6 weeks. They're not playing against great opposition in the last 5 or 6 weeks, so you have to take that into account as well. And they have looked defensively solid, they do, but to win games of football, you've got to score goals. This is just the way of this club. This club is about entertaining people, having brilliant forward players. Forward players are just... They're not at the level that is required to have a team who can compete constantly for Champions League, for the title. They're in 14th in the Premier League. They're there for a reason. 37 goals in 30 games. It's nowhere near enough, Steve, and that has to change.
So when he auditioned, surely being a Manchester United potential manager, he'd have put himself forward with a forward-thinking, attacking system. because he was so keen, so implement. Like he would have interviewed on his sword. This is my system, and this is what brings success. So what on earth are they doing in training? Because defensively, like you say, defensively they do look fairly solid. But in the Premier League, to be successful, you can't just rely on being like, you know, Forest, Leicester, those sorts of teams. They don't come around very often. There's not much sustainability to what they're trying to do. You can have one good season, but what could he possibly be doing in training to balance that up? Because they can't just think as soon as they start attacking, they're vulnerable. It doesn't work. A good team doesn't, the moment they attack.
Yeah. Well, I think his system can be an attacking system. I think he's shown it at Sporting Lisbon.
Of course.
They scored plenty of goals. I just don't... He hasn't got the ammunition to go out and actually score goals. He just hasn't got it. He's got Bruno Fernandes, who's capable. Xerxes, Højlund, not goal scorers. Garnacho doesn't look like a goal scorer enough. You can go recruitment right back down the years, can't you, for the last 2 or 3 years and think, how on God's earth have Manchester United end up with one centre forward who doesn't score goals? It's incredible.
It would be interesting to see if you gave Ruben Amorim and said, what is your ideal 11 for the system that you want to play? I wouldn't be able to name the players that he'd want. It doesn't really just quite make sense. He did well at Sporting, and I'm sure he's a top coach when he's on fire and when the team are flowing. But it's just really, really hard to work out what his team looks like when it's successful, being both solid at the back, which every title-winning team needs to be, but also effective going forward. That's the one thing that I'm just struggling to see.
We have to cut him some slack here in the sense that the way he wants to play, you have to recruit players for that specific way, and obviously they've been recruited for the previous managers.
Absolutely, no doubt, but like a high-end player, which Man United have signed, and you know, players have proven that they've signed them, and other people have wanted these players, so they could have gone on, hypothetically, and gone and played for a team that's successful and done well. And you look at Anthony, you look at Rashford. You know, they're in a system that's working. They're not amazing. They're not they've gone into systems that are groundbreaking. Look, I know Anthony's gone into a Pellegrini. That's very, very simple in what he wants from them, but he seems to be shining. So that's all I'm asking. These guys aren't awful players. They've not recruited terrible players. They should be able to coach them into some sort of system, like working with them every single day. Like, that's what you forget about a professional footballer.
It goes on for much longer. So what about Bruno Fernandes' assessment of what we saw then, Roy?
Yes. Pretty honest out of him, yeah, of course. Again, we saw the lack of quality, the lack of goals, which is really holding the club back the last couple of years. I still think that, I'm not sure what the mindset is in this group of players in terms of trying to win football matches. You need Gary summed it up pretty well at the end of the game. I think they need to show a bit more courage. They all show images of ex-players, people like Canton in the crowd, and we go back to the managers I played with, the teams. And I know you might say this team's not as good as that, obviously not. But there's a responsibility, I still think, when you're playing for Manchester United to try and win football matches, and I still don't think they're doing enough to win matches. You look even over the last 3 or 4 games, where they beat Leicester, but they drew home here to Arsenal. They lose at Forest. They draw here, and it's almost, I still think they need to do a bit more, gamble a bit more.
But do you think that's
not necessarily silly getting everyone in the box, but when you get moments, to take more risks. And there is that element when you play for Man United, there is that when you're watching the player play for Man United, that they are prepared to take risks, particularly the attacking players. And I don't see enough of that. So what we're seeing today is, as much as we're all disappointed with it, what were we expecting really? Because they don't score enough goals, and they've not done for the last year or two. And that's not going to change.
But is that not a symbol of where this Manchester United team are right now? They don't feel good enough to take Arsenal on, to take Manchester City on at their own game.
I get that, but there still has to be a change of mindset. You have to start somewhere. Yeah, you have to start somewhere. This is a derby game where Man City have come, who aren't in great form themselves. They're a good team, and obviously you've got quality players. So it's a home game. You're thinking, listen, City aren't that great. You've had one opportunities, and they've had chances, and they're making the wrong decision. People not getting in the box, people not hitting the target, people not taking opportunities. And again, it's the mindset of find a way to win. Find a way to get a set piece, get a last minute. City defended quite well. I think some good crosses going into the box, and their 2 centre-halves in particular, I think, done quite well. But I still look at this Man United team, and I'm going back over the last year or two, not just today, and going, where is that mindset and that gamble from somebody to say, even 2 or 3 pop. I'm going to get in. I'm going to get across the near post. I'm going to produce them. And we're waiting for Bruno to do it all the time. He does it a lot of time, but it needs other players to step up to the Man United. There is that responsibility because they all sit there and they come from. They'll sit down and they'll discuss their contract for months and get a deal done. But when you do that, and you come to Man United, you do look and go, no, lads, there is a responsibility of playing for Man United, and not enough players, particularly attacking players.
Have you seen an improvement, though, Roy?
Sorry?
Have you seen an improvement with it? I think
I can't see it, but I'm happy to be.
I just mean from the system. Obviously, we're playing 3-4-3. It's new to everyone. The manager's persistent on he wants to play that. It takes players a longer time
I try and see all that. There's new players at the club, new manager, and he came in at a difficult spell. I know that, and there's been trouble over the last few years. But you're still looking for some sort of change in the, again, more so the mindset. Again, we talk about tactics and systems. I'm on about balls going into the box, and some good balls going into the box. You're waiting for somebody to.
Yeah, but the system is.
Do you think there's more structure, Mike?
I think it's more structure.
The system. You've obviously got 11 players on the pitch. In that system, 7 are defensive-minded players.
Correct.
So you've got your 4 across the middle, your 3 in your back 3, and then you've obviously got your keeper if you include that. And you've got 3 forward players who are natural goal scorers, natural creators. You know, your Bruno Fernandes, your Mason Mounts, your Xerxes, your Højlund. There's not enough output coming from them, but also your reserves. So your best chances often fall to wing-backs. Look at Dorgu today. You can't expect Dorgu to score. It reminds me of Tottenham a few seasons ago when they play with wing-backs and their best chances fall to wing-backs and they're not natural goal scorers. And I don't care.
And it's where they're starting from as well, isn't it?
Exactly.
They're having to run 40, 50 yards just to get a chance.
That's exactly it. And it almost becomes, we break the lines. It's desperate. We have to score. We have to score. Otherwise, it's a catastrophe.
So is it a matter of just getting better quality personnel into those positions?
Absolutely.
Which is going to take time, isn't it?
Yeah, but there still could be more of a goal threat. Yeah, you're always going to want your attacking players, and the couple of strikers they have at the club aren't good enough for Man United. I get that, but there's other players on the team. There's wide players. Defenders can score goals. I'm talking about set pieces. The goal, for example, the goal they gave away against Forest the other night, it's a corner, and then you have an opposition player running 70, 80 yards. Yeah, it's a great run, and you could say a great goal, but someone's got to tackle him. That's the mindset I'm talking about. Have a desire to dig deep and find a way to get a result.
How do you get that mindset, though? You're talking about it. You keep going back to your teams, and your team had that mindset. Maybe this
it's got to come from the manager, the staff. They've got to try and get it into the certain leaders they have in the dressing room. I'm not saying they can all be like that, but you have to have a few lads. They've got experienced players out there. They've got Maguire, Casemiro, Fernandes. Did they get a grip of these players? That's what I talk about. Now, we watch them at weekends, but I go back to them. I'm always intrigued what happens day to day at the training ground. Who's drilling the Garnacho, for example? We played around many years ago. Ollie Solskjaer ran 70, 80 yards to bring somebody down. He got sent off. Sacrifices.
Kevin De Bruyne's final Manchester derby was not exactly one to remember for anyone concerned.
Might be making a run.
Check out the best facts and Opta data in our Man United versus Man City stats page.
We want to see action and
Manchester United and Manchester City played out an almost entirely eventless 0-0 draw on Sunday at Old Trafford, though both seemed happy enough with a point on the final whistle. Kevin De Bruyne started his last ever Manchester derby, having announced that this will be his final season at City on Friday. But even he couldn't provide any stardust on an afternoon that saw both teams struggle to create anything. The draw was a blow to City's hopes of qualifying for the UEFA Champions League, leaving them in 5th place and just a point ahead of in-form Aston Villa and 2 ahead of Newcastle United, who have 2 games in hand. United moved back ahead of Tottenham Hotspur into 13th place, though remained 7 points off the top half of the table. An exciting first minute belied what was to follow when Alejandro Garnacho burst through on goal, but Arben Diaz brought the Argentine down just outside the box, receiving a very early yellow card. In fact, it was the earliest card 38 seconds in a Premier League Manchester derby on record since 2006 to 2007. Bruno Fernandes could only hit the resulting free kick into the City wall, though. Phil Foden fired a shot wide of Onana's near post, but most of the notable chances in the first half came from United counter-attacks. Garnacho almost got on the end of a ball across the box, while Patrick Dorgu and Manuel Ugarte both shot wide from quick breaks. City had plenty of the ball but struggled to create openings, somewhat typified by Ilkay Gundogan having a shot from distance in the 39th minute that just fizzed wide of Onana's far post, while Casemiro had a shot moments later saved comfortably by Ederson also from outside the box. The visitors' best chance of the game came early in the second half when Omar Marmoush slid Foden in, but the England international took a poor first touch and then sliced his shot wide under pressure from Nasser Mazraoui. De Bruyne was kept relatively quiet, but he did play a dangerous ball across the United box early in the second half before having a shot from the edge of the box after cutting inside onto his left foot, but it was comfortably held by Onana. Jeremy Doku replaced Foden before the hour mark. Foden has now failed to score or assist in 7 straight Premier League appearances for the first time since February 2023, while he also only completed 11 of his 18 passes 61.1 at Old Trafford. Real chances were still at a premium, though Marmoush forced 2